You are so busy, and how on earth are you going to keep a devotional schedule to the Morrigan with so much going on? My name is Lora O'Brien, and I am the co-founder of the Irish Pagan School and the founder of the Morrigan Academy, and I am here to answer your questions. So, we had a question in our Morrigan membership community, which was any advice on how to keep with devotional work with a busy school schedule, internship, and my actual job. I've been so busy that I have only been able to stop by the altar once this past week, and I really want to do better. Now, the reason that I'm really enjoying answering these questions is because they are questions that we actually get all the time in, various different formats. And I have a whole AMA section in the Morrigan membership community. If you want to join that community, there's a link below. And what I can do is put these answers up so that they benefit obviously the person in the community asking the question, but also everybody else who has these frequently asked questions. These are very, very common concerns, believe me. So the first thing I want to say is that, devotional acts and devotional service to a goddess is it's not absolutely essential, right? The Morrigan might have a one-off piece of work for you. The Morrigan might have a lifetimes of work for you, which multiple lifetimes as I seem to be in for, right? And that's okay. And the other thing that I want to point out, is that everybody has different seasons in life. So currently, I have grown-up children and grandchildren, which is amazing, but I'm in a very different place than I was when I first started my practice with the Morrigan when I was a single mother of 3 very young children. So my devotional practice now looks very different than it did then, and that's okay, and even in my current season of life, when I was doing my thesis, my master's thesis in Irish history, everything had to stop for a little while because I was also, working and doing a thesis and being a mother and a grandmother and a wife and a friend and a sister and all the rest of it. So everybody has a lot going on, right? But you will have different seasons or different stages in your life when your devotions can be, a lot more intense, a lot more informed. But if you're in one of those periods currently where things are really tight, your timing, your scheduling, your commitments, your responsibilities, all of that, that's what we're going to answer today. So I have a couple of points laid out. We have an 8-point plan here, or an 8-point reminder, I suppose. So balancing devotional practices with demanding schedule, as described by our questioner here in the Morrigan membership community, is difficult, obviously, but it's also an opportunity to do something that I talk about all the time with regard to pagan practice, which is making sure to integrate it into your everyday life. So within neo-paganism, we seem to be or many people seem to be of the opinion that there has to be all these mad grand rituals and, monthly meetings and weekly coven meetings and all the rest of it. And, if that's working for you, great. Really, really good. Perfect. But a lot of people are on a solo path. A lot of people, even if they are in a group, they have to find ways to integrate the practices, the devotions, the observances into their everyday lives. Now, this does apply whether you're working with the Morrigan or not. So the points that are going to follow can be generally applied to anybody really who wants to work with any god or to just incorporate Irish paganism or any kind of paganism or any kind of spirituality really, into your everyday. So they are quite general points, but obviously at the Morrigan Academy, we teach very specific Morrigan stuff, but we're here on the Irish Pagan School channel, so I just wanted to keep it a little bit more general over here, right? So integrate small acts of devotion. So consider incorporating these small manageable acts of devotion into your daily routine. Now, this could be literally anything. It can be a brief morning or evening prayer, lighting a candle, offering a moment of silence to your deities or your spiritual guides or your ancestors, or, your local, your nature spirits if you're out and about. And these can really be short enough to fit into any schedule, but they are really powerful. And the real way to build up that kind of power within these small acts of devotion is to do them consistently. So that's really important as well. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, try and do a daily practice, try and do something small every single day. And if you have a day where, this is my own personal rule of thumb, if you have a day where you don't do something, don't miss the next day. So, life happens, you can miss one thing, but these are only small, tiny things. So you don't really have an excuse for missing 2 days in a row. So even if you're laid up in bed, even if you're in hospital, like you might have drama the first day, but the second day you can take a moment of silence wherever you happen to be, right? It really can be as simple as that. Now, you could also carry a symbol. So for the Morrigan specifically, obviously a crow would be a really good symbol, but also like a wolf, an eel, a heifer, any of those animals that she has shapeshifted into in the Thon. And crows and ravens, corvids particularly, the black ones, are very much connected with the Morrigan and her sisters. So that is a perfect symbol. But really anything that connects you personally to the Morrigan, to a story, to Irish culture, anything like that can represent your connection to the Morrigan. Now, this could be getting a tattoo, or it could be carrying a little charm around in your purse, or your handbag, or your pocket. Any kind of small symbol or token related to your spiritual practice that can be just carried with you throughout. So make sure you can paint it onto your bag that you're carrying around to school and your job or whatever. It could be a stone, it could be a piece of jewellery, it could be some kind of talisman that holds significance to your path, right? And again, this is very personal. So I'm trying to be as general as possible while being as helpful as possible in this short guide. And then whenever you touch it or see it, this symbol will remind you of your spiritual commitment and your intentions. So it can be really, really powerful. And again, consistency is going to be the key here. Now, for those of us with, along the neurodivergent lines of things, object impermanence is a thing. So do take that into account and maybe change up the symbol, or, make it a part of a weekly ritual that you draw the symbol in a different place or carry it with you in a different way, or, I don't know, but like work with your own neurodivergence if that is a thing, because that is something that personally I have found that if I'm carrying the same thing over and over again, unless it's maybe like a piece of jewelry or something, I'm touching a necklace I don't even have on, a ring, something like that, where you're kind of physically being reminded of it, that can be a really good way if that is an issue for you. It might not be, but just in case it is, I wanted to throw it in there. Now, number 3 is mindful moments. So this is about using everyday moments for mindfulness and connection. So for example, while eating, walking, even during breaks at school or at work, you're taking a few minutes to ground yourself, reflect on your spiritual path, offer gratitude, restate your commitments, whether that's to yourself or to the Morrigan. And these practices really help to weave spirituality into the fabric of your everyday life. So it's really important, and again, really powerful. All of these seem really simple, and they are really simple, but it's the doing them consistently that's the thing, right? But they don't take very long to do at all. Now, schedule regular check-ins. This is point 4. So just as you might in a busy schedule, you might have to schedule your work time, schedule your study time, schedule meetings, all of those things. Consider scheduling regular, dedicated times for your spiritual practice, for a little bit more in-depth. So this could be a guided journey. Again, we've loads of resources at the Irish Pagan School, and we have a whole guided journey or guided meditation journeys membership. So get onto that, and it can be a case of listening to something for 20 minutes on your phone and going along with the journey. So guided by my voice. So that's a good way of doing it, or, whatever, a little ritual, whatever really suits you, but like once a week, say, or even once a month, just to actually have that set time for a little bit more of an in-depth of touching base, right? And just having this kind of set time for engagement that you're writing down, you're marking, you're putting on your calendar, you're setting a reminder for on your phone, however, whatever system you have, whatever works for you, just making sure that it's there and it's visible and it's prioritized is going to help with all of this as well, right? Now, number 5 is journaling. I'm a big, 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 big proponent of journaling. It is such an important practice for just actually integrating what's going on. So, you can learn something, you can experience it, and then integrate it. And by the way, these are the 3 pillars of pagan practice. That is what I teach. It's what I do. And you can learn more about that. There'll be links to all that below. But there's irishpagan.school/3 days. And it's a free little resource for you to go through these 3 pillars of pagan practice if you want to learn more about that. But journaling is part of that, or it's one of the ways to do that integration process, that 3rd pillar. So keeping a spiritual journal where you can jot down thoughts, experiences, reflections related to your path, can really be a good way to stay engaged with your spiritual practice. So it's not just having a moment, it's having a moment and then maybe jotting some even a note on your phone, taking a voice note, and then maybe that evening before bed, you're just doing a little transcribe into a physical journal if that's something that you can, or saving it to your Google Drive, organizing it, whatever way you do with your digital files. I love the hand-eye coordination. That doesn't suit everybody. And there's definitely a case to be made for it if you are able to do the physical written journal side of things. There's many, many good reasons to try and prioritize that. But if you're not able to, if you're not capable of it, if any reason that anybody might not be able to do physical writing in a physical book, digital is fine. Just make sure that it's being kept organized, that it's uploaded to a cloud, that it's saved in a Google Drive, whatever you're doing, right? And organized by day, by week, by month, whatever. So even when you're short on time, like this is obviously a good practice. And just on that, like the actual physical writing. Now, again, typing on your phone or recording a voice note. I'm old school. I'm analog. Have pity on me. I was born in the 1900s. All of that is true, right? But it's still relevant in our modern digital age, if possible. Again, writing can be a form of devotion in itself, and particularly if it's not something that you're doing in your everyday anymore. It can be a whole other kind of getting you out of the mundane, and it doesn't have to be much. It can be like a line or 2. That's all. So then we, of course, have digital devotion. So utilizing the digital resources that are very much available to stay connected to your spiritual practice. Now, I've mentioned some of these, but there are so many apps, podcasts, online communities focused on spirituality. And, I've mentioned many of them. That guided meditation membership is a really good way, wherever you are, you probably have your phone with you or have access to some kind of audio player. So you can have meditations, guided journeys, which are going to be a really simple way, like between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on what level you want to go to. And I think there's over 40 of them available currently, and we're adding more every month in the guided meditation membership at the Irish Pagan School. So you can go over there and search for that if you want. But even just listening to a podcast, we get a lot of our students would say that they'll come into our channel. Like we have, we're heading for 400 videos on this YouTube channel. We have at least as many podcast episodes. We have, or actually no, I don't think we have as many podcast episodes yet, but like there's weekly podcasts going up. There's a blog. There's a TikTok now as well. However you want to engage with us digitally, you have options. And I know that people learn in different ways as well. So we do a lot of book recommendations. Obviously, you can read on a Kindle, you can read on your phone, you can have a book that even if you're only reading like a passage or 2, and that's fine. it can only be a line or two. It can be 10 minutes of a podcast. It can be whatever you're actually capable for, whatever you have time for, on your commute to work, on your, if you're having a little break, you can stick a headphones in your ears and have a listen to something. There are so many different ways to learn, and engage with your own spiritual practice, your own spiritual devotions, even when you're on the go, right? So number 7, now we're almost done. We said we'd do 8. Adjust your expectations. So I've kind of touched on this a little bit already, but I really want everybody to understand that there will be times when your responsibilities, your secular commitments demand more from you than than you are able to commit to your spiritual life. And it's okay for your spiritual practice to adapt accordingly. In fact, it's really important that your spiritual practice fits with your life, that it's not taking you out of your life. That's not the kind of life that you need to be living. You don't have to be some ascetic living on a cliff on the side of a mountain. Here in Irish paganism and in my work with the Morrigan, anyway, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but with my work with the Morrigan, there has been so much that has been a part of the mundane, quote unquote, of the everyday, that she has taken a hand in, that she has put me to work in, that doing something very, very mundane, very ordinary, taking care of a responsibility, doing a bit of activism, standing up or speaking up in the middle of a family gathering or, a night out with friends, suddenly Guthubbin, the Morrigan is there, and there's work to be done. And as you build relationship with the Morrigan, this is always part of it, that she will kind of make her presence felt in your life. And often that happens during my everyday life, not necessarily when I'm kind of taking the quiet time to listen to her. It happens on her schedule, basically, not on ours. And, the sooner we all accept that, the better. And that's fine. This is a goddess, right? We are working with her technically, but also very much for her, right? So that's grand. But flexibility and self-compassion is key in all of this as well. It doesn't mean that the Morrigan gets to stalk in and take over your entire life. And that's not how it should be, because that's not healthy for you. That's not the kind of symbiotic working relationship that we want to be aiming for. It doesn't always work out like this, but at least aiming for, so that it's sustainable in the long term. And that sustainability is just as important to the Morrigan as it is to us, even if the human needs in the moment are not maybe always completely obvious to this ancient goddess of battle and prophecy and strategy and magic, right? So your path will be there when you have time to return to it, when you have the energy to give to this work, when you have more to give, great. In the meantime, keep that consistency with those tiny, tiny things and build up that relationship. And then when you're ready, you can return to that more fully. When there's more work to do, you will be able to. You won't have burnt yourself out, right? And then the last point would be to connect with the community. So connecting with a community that shares your spiritual interests could be like an online forum. It could be your local community, a local group, or even just a friend, who you can share your experiences, discuss your path. You could make a little coffee date with somebody, or arrange to meet online on Zoom for 20 minutes, once a week or whatever it is, or once a month, whatever it looks like for you. Or again, we have a whole Morrigan membership community that's not on Facebook. We there's a tiny little point of entry, a tiny little price point of entry. So it makes sure that everybody in there is committed to being there. So is actually committed to the same kind of spiritual path and goals that you would be as well. So that's been really important for me. It's been really important for us setting up the Morrigan Academy, that element to it. We moved to a different platform to make sure that we could kind of move things off Facebook and have that kind of community set up there for everybody who wants that little bit more security, a little bit more intentionality with their fellow community members. So we have that set up. That is an online engagement. There's an app you can get for your phone that you can literally engage with the community through that. So it's all very convenient, but that doesn't mean that it's not really in depth, and the support that's in that community already is amazing. So if you're part of it already, well done. Make sure you're saying hi to new members and just taking care of each other. And that's really what it's about. And that is obviously the value. Community support can be incredibly sustaining during busy times, even if it's only shout out, a little bit of a check-in, saying hi to people, that you recognize from online. And again, if you can bring it local, but that's just not available for a lot of people. So the quality of your devotional work is not measured by the quantity of time you spend on it, right? By the amount of objects you have on your altar, by whether you have an altar at all. Many people don't. It could be a little crow feather on a shelf or a window ledge, right? So your altar doesn't have to be big and complicated. It could be, you could go out and sit under a tree or have a potted plant on the window ledge that, something that's going to be meaningful for you. Again, those tiny little symbols that you could carry with you, even something like getting a tattoo. So you kind of don't have to think about it. It's a one-time commitment and you don't have to think about it again, Ask me about my crow tattoos sometime. But I said tattoos, yes, multiple. But your religious or your spiritual or your devotional work is really about the sincerity and the attention and the consistency with which you are able to build relationship. And like, everybody's busy, right? So don't tell me you don't have 2 minutes to light a tea light candle or turn on a little battery powered one or literally take a breath when you wake up first thing in the morning and restate your commitments, or when you're going to bed at night, to have literally just, again, a breath and maybe a prayer or a little offering of gratitude and connection to the Morrigan. We also have a very simple 5-day challenge, which is a free resource, that'll be linked below. And this will give you the structure for how to do a very simple daily practice, for if and when you have a little bit more time. That's great. It's a great way to build relationship. But for now, again, it can be as simple as one line in a journal. It can be as simple as, saying her name once a day. That's it, right? So hopefully that's been helpful. We have a whole playlist, right? Whole playlist of Morrigan videos that are here in the channel. I will link the playlist here. So make sure that you go into it, either just let it play or, choose what you want or what you need to hear from it. But do continue your learning. If you have another 15, 20 minutes, go and listen to another video. Okay? Slán.